All right, so picking up where we left off, we now have our contract where we have a create method and we set some global state to our hard-coded proposal, and then we can return that here in get proposal. So now what we want to do is we want to think about a way that we can eliminate the hard-coded proposal from our contract. Now, if you aren't already at this point, if you're in the TS beginner EN repo, you can run the command git checkout v102, and then I'll bring you to this exact code space that we're at. So we're going to build off this, and let me write down in a comment what we're going to be doing. So we're going to modify this method so that we don't have a hard-coded proposal. Okay, now if you're familiar with development or specifically TypeScript, you can probably imagine how we're going to do this. Basically, what we want to happen is we want our create application function to take an argument that the caller can use to specify their own proposal. So I'm going to make an argument called proposal. This is going to be a string type, and I'm going to go ahead and say that this proposal.value is now going to be equal to proposal. Okay, so if I now come over to my tests and I do an npm run build, what we'll see happen. Okay, so I'll pause the video for a quick second and adding in this recording in editing. I just wanted to point out that the latest version of the TEALScript template, or the latest version of TEALScript, no longer has that .create.bear method. So there's going to be kind of an awkward slice here where I just skip right to adding the argument to our create application method. So again, when I was recording this, TEALScript generated the .create.bear call. However, on your side now, instead of being .create.bear, by default, it should be already .create application. So ignore the fact that this says bear right now, and we're just going to jump ahead to where we add the argument to our create application. And now in here, we're going to pass in our argument. And you can see here, the type that's missing is proposal. So I'm going to define a argument proposal. And then I'm actually going to come up here into my test and define const proposal equals this is a proposal. Okay. And now what we want to do is we're just going to change this actual test itself to be proposal. So we're expecting our proposal from the method. So the proposal that gets returned by this method here, we are expecting it to be equal to the proposal that we define here. So what's nice is, so if I go ahead and I do an npm run build, and then npm run test, I keep forgetting that test automatically builds for me. So I do an npm run test, and I can see here that this test works. And in fact, just to be sure, I can add a console here just to show you. If I do a console.log, oops, and I log that return value, that's weird. I've never seen that before, so just cancel that. And I do an npm run test. You can see here that this is a proposal, is the proposal that typed, or that was tested against. And if I go ahead and update this, we can see here without modifying the contract source code at all, we're just changing the value in the test. We can now see that our proposal is updated. So the idea with state is it allows us to save values that are independent of what's hard-coded in the contract. And for those of you that are familiar with development, you know that having variables that aren't hard-coded is very useful and it makes code more repeatable. And that's exactly what we accomplished here. So just to kind of recap, this was going to be a pretty short video, but we've basically modified our method here. So our create application method, we've modified it so that we pass in an argument, and that argument is then passed into our global state. So now our contract has some state that it's saving, and we're telling it to save a key called proposal, and that proposal key is going to point to the actual proposal we pass in. In our case, it's going to be, this is a proposal. So the next step that we want to do is we've kind of got our initial scaffolding for a proposal. We can now build on top of this. And as you can imagine, the whole point of a DAO is so that users can vote. So in the next video, we'll be showing you how to implement voting functionality. If you want to get a head start and try to come up with your own solution, you can use the concepts we learned today, or in this video, I should say, about how we can use arguments and how we can use global state to pass values and save them in our contract. So if you are watching this asynchronously, you can skip to the next video to see the solution. I'll see you then.